I'm sure you'll keep your applause going and give him a standing ovation, because today and this week, he has rewritten the record books. The Holden Australian Open champion for the year 2000, At.Badds. Our champion as an amateur in 1999 and as a professional in the year 2000.
Yes, indeed. A very big welcome to the Course Language Podcast, all thanks to Callaway, a very special edition of the Course Language Podcast. Because if you have a look, if you're watching us on YouTube, and you can't see this if you're listening via whatever your podcast medium that you're using at the moment, but Sam Hargraves, Ryan Lynch as always, but there's a man below us in the tile that really does need no introduction, so I'll just keep it very short and sharp. But it wasn't that long ago for us, Lynchy, that we were watching this man who's a very similar age to you and I don't know what you were doing at 18. You were probably on your way to doing what you were doing, but I was just trying not to get kicked out of pubs and nightclubs. But this man was winning his very first Australian Open as an amateur, and then backed it up the following year to become the first player to defend it since Greg Norman. He did it at Kingston Heath. We're back at Kingston Heath again this year. So for that and a whole lot of reasons, it's very, very timely to speak to one of Australia's greats in Aaron Baddeley, who's been good enough to join us on Course Language. Bads, a very big hello. Thanks for being with us. Where do we find you, and what time do we find you at?
It's about 5 a.m. in Scottsdale, Arizona.
So great to have you with us, mate. Thank you again for your time. I actually wanted to kind of start back in that 2099 time. Obviously, burst onto the scene. You were a hero of mine at that stage, obviously a little bit above my age group, but what do you recall from Royal Sydney, the first Australian Open that you were able to win, and Kingston Heath, as Sam said, is going to be back there this year?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it really started all before Royal Sydney. About 6 months before, your dad, my coach, Dale Lynch, we put a plan together to peak that week. And this started literally like 6 months before, like, okay, this is the week we want to peak. And the focus was to play great that week. And so I went up to Royal Sydney and played there about 6 weeks prior to the tournament and played some practice rounds so I could get a look at the course, get to see because I'd never played Royal Sydney before. And so when I got to there, the game was in a perfect spot, and I knew the golf course. I liked it. I played well in practice there. So when I got there, it was really just about playing. And to be honest, I mean, this might sound weird, but as an 18-year-old, but I really struggled that week with thinking that I was going to win. And that was like difficult to get out of my mind because I was so focused on it and my game was right there. So we came up with like a little saying for the week, like one shot, one hole, one round. So I started getting ahead of myself because obviously as a golfer, that can be the worst thing you can do. So I would say this to myself to bring me back to focus on this shot. And I mean, I really thought I was going to win that week. I mean, and obviously played great. Played with Colin Montgomerie, who was number 3 in the world at the time, on the last group, and to beat him and the Shark, that was pretty great. And then the next year was different at the Heath because I'd gone overseas. I'd played in America and didn't play very well. The game wasn't in a very good spot really at all going into that week. And Wednesday, me and Lynchy Senior, we spent hours on the range getting the game where I just had something for the next day. I could feel confident. And that was one of those weeks where it just sort of got better as the week went on. The first day played okay, shot a decent day. Next day was okay. Then by Saturday, Sunday, I was really playing really quite nice. And to back it up, that was pretty special.
So you talk about setting a plan and obviously being a long way out for both Aussie Opens. Can you recall, or do you still use what method you put in place to prepare yourself for that? Like, did you have a schedule of what you needed to play, how many weeks off you would have before, or anything like that?
I'd say that's probably the best thing about Lynchy was how he was able to think about what you wanted to achieve and how to go about it. So for me as a youngster growing up, like especially that first one, there was all these steps in place that you just think, all right, I can just tick that box off okay, I've done that. I can take the next box up. And you just kept this progression. So yes, you had an end goal, but the step-by-step process always seemed attainable. And as a youngster, that was great for me because I love ticking boxes. I love like completing drills when I practice. I love to finish something. So for me, it was perfect, those step-by-step processes.
At that age, 18, 19, and you talk about the Colin Montgomerys, the Greg Normans, and we're going to speak about Greg and the fact that he picked you for a President's Cup many years after all of this. To be at that age and to be looking over your shoulder and seeing those just omnipotent sort of figures in not just Australian golf in Greg Norman, but in world golf as well. What was put in place at that time as a teenager to try and block that out? Or do you not block that out and do you lean into that and just revel in all of that? And is there a bit of sort of young punk that sort of says, oh, here we go? Or how did you deal with all of that?
I think there's definitely some of that young brashness of
Yeah.
like, I can do it, you know. But my first event as I guess a junior, playing in professional events, I was 15 when I played the Vic Open. So I'd been playing pro events for a number of years at that time. I knew a bunch of guys on the tour. So it wasn't like it was just like a come in at the first time. I'd played golf with Greg Norman the year before on a practice round. So I knew Greg. We actually played a practice round that week at Royal Sydney as well. So like I definitely had experience playing with pros. Like I feel like if it was my first pro event and I didn't know anybody, that'd be a little bit different. But like that week I played with Jeff Ogilvy and Michael Campbell the first 2 days, so I knew those two guys. So it was a comfortable pairing. It was more just getting out there and just focusing on me, to be honest, and my game, and not really worrying about the other blokes.
I remember speaking to Harrison Crowe about this a couple of years ago, and he became the first player since Jim Ferry to do the New South Wales Amateur and the New South Wales Open as an amateur in the same 12-month period. When he turned pro, I saw him at the next New South Wales Open, and I said to him, what's different now? And he said, oh, everything. Golf is really hard when it's your job. Did you, coming back the second year when it now was your job, turning professional, did that change the approach, the pressure, the expectation, any of that? Like, was there much of a difference between the freedom of as an amateur and then what it meant as a professional the year after?
I would say it was more the year leading into it. Came over to America, didn't play great, had a bunch of missed cuts over here, and going into the week, my game just wasn't in a great spot. Japan was my first event as a pro, and I made like about a 40-footer on the 18th to make the cut on the number, which was key because that really got me 2 more competitive rounds in before I got to Kingston Heath, and I think that really helped. But it was more the year coming in. Like the year before, it was all about building and being ready for that week, and the game was just in a really great spot. And then Kingston Heath, the game wasn't in a great spot, and then during the week, it just kept getting better to where I felt comfortable and was able to hit the shots I needed.
So you've gone from child prodigy, essentially, turned pro. You're on the US tour. Obviously, you're still out there playing at the highest possible level. That kind of speaks to that little bit of change, right? Is that all of a sudden that step-by-step process as an amateur can kind of, okay, cool, I'm in the right spot, but it becomes a little bit more immediate or a little bit more, I need to get better yesterday as a professional, exactly. Right? So run us through those next few years. You get in onto the US tour. You obviously that sort of next phase of your life where you go through some swing changes, some coach changes. You probably, you start to win on the US tour. Take us through that sort of process and how long that sort of took for you to start to feel comfortable on that tour. You obviously felt comfortable in Australia.
Yeah, I feel like that's a great point that you make. Like, as an amateur, you can sort of take those spots and you can have those building where, like, as a pro, like, you want to be good yesterday. Exactly, and the pressures of having to play good now. That was definitely something maybe, I don't know if I was ready for or didn't have that sort of, it was a different mindset. And like, you feel like the pressures of having to play well now, where sometimes in the building process you play great because you're just building towards something. So obviously I had some coach changes, and then played on the Korn Ferry for a year in 2002, which was, I think, felt like a great year, sort of out of the spotlight and just sort of working on my game and getting ready. Had a good year out there, got my tour card at the start of '03, and then felt back to a spot where I felt really comfortable with my swing in the game, and had a bunch of top tens in a row leading into Hawaii. So my first event as a member, lost to Ernie Els in a playoff. He held about a 40-footer to beat me. And so felt pretty comfortable straight away with that. Like, was able to play great early. And that year, had a good year, finished top 70 on the money list with being out for like 3 months with tore ligaments in my ankle playing ultimate frisbee. So
I remember that.
It's a tale as old as time.
Yeah,
exactly right. So
yeah.
Your first win comes in 2006. What was that, more of a relief for you, or was it obviously adulation for everything that you built over the next 6 years?
Yeah, I mean, I felt it's probably a bit of both. I feel like it was a pretty special week down at Hilton Head, and that's definitely like one of my favorite tournaments. Just that week I played well. The Sunday was pretty special because the day before was Rochelle's and my first wedding anniversary, and then the Sunday was Easter Sunday, and myself being a Christian, that's the most important day of the year. And that morning, I gave my testimony about how Jesus had changed my life on the 18th green at about 7 o'clock in the morning, and then at about 6 o'clock that evening, I made about a 6-footer to win the golf tournament. So that was pretty special win, like just
amazing.
Celebrate wedding anniversary, Easter Sunday, and to be your first win, beating Jim Furyk was pretty great.
The name you mentioned, Jim Furyk, in that decade, you're in this incredible place in the history of golf where it's Pete Tiger, it's Phil, it's guys like Jim Furyk who you mentioned. I mean, you've beaten VJ in 2011 at the Northern Trust Open. The names that are just synonymous with, especially for our generation of golfers, and you're there competing and going toe to toe with these guys. Is your mindset one that says, no, I'm one of them, as opposed to, gee, look at what I'm doing and look at who I'm doing it with, until you do step back later after the fact and go, gee, that was pretty cool? Or are you aware of it in the moment?
I would say it's more after the fact, except for Tiger. Because what Tiger was doing was unprecedented,
Yeah.
I mean, stuff that he was doing was just crazy. And so, like, you looked at him like, this is ridiculous. And I'd say, like, the other guys, it's more like you look back afterwards and you see the Phils, the Ernies, the VJs, Furyks, those guys, Tom Lehman's, like these guys that you playing golf with and talking to them, asking questions and watching them play, stuff like that. So I'd say it's more after the fact, except for Tiger.
We'll get to Tiger very shortly, and how close you were at that US Open, obviously. But I just want to touch quickly on something you mentioned a minute ago as well, being your first wedding anniversary. Kids start to come soon thereafter. As a professional golfer, it's quite a selfish endeavor, right? When you get married, you then share a life with someone, and then kids start to come along. How does that change your perspective on a golf course, or how does that change the way that you attack each tournament or each year, or how did things change and evolve as kids kept coming along, and obviously Rochelle, your wife?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like, those progressions are changes in, you've gone from being like just you focusing on just your game and getting better to then now when you get married, you're sharing a life and you're adjusting to that, which is amazing. And then once the kids start coming, it's different again. But I think one of the things that was great for us was that we traveled together. Rochelle packed up the kids and traveled, and she didn't miss many tournaments. So up until when the kids were going to probably second or third grade, like they were traveling 100% of the time, basically, which made it easier. It made the travel day a little stressful, but like once you got to the tournament, it was great. They were there. Rochelle was there, which I loved. But there was definitely that balance of like learning to manage your time even better. Even a little bit like when you go back to school, where you had to manage your time so well because you had schoolwork. But same thing with the family. Like you got to manage your time well so you can spend the most time at home, to spend the most time at the golf course, to spend the most time being ready as a professional athlete.
As the oldest of 6 kids, and I know you've got 6 kids, Aaron, those travel days must have been absolutely hectic. But I couldn't imagine anything better than hanging out with my family every single day, mate. Does it change at all the pressures of making cuts and making money that you're supporting more than just yourself and more than just your wife? And as I said, you've got a lot of kids that rely on you and you to play well. That adds another level of stress, I would imagine, to your golf game.
It can, for sure. When we were growing up, that wasn't the focus, and that really wasn't, like, it was more just about like playing good golf and letting everything else take care of itself. So the better I could prepare and the better I could play, then I didn't really need to focus on that, so which was nice.
So we're talking a little bit further on in your journey now. Obviously, 2007, you have another win the following year. So you're at the top of your game. Game feels really good. You find yourself in a final pairing leading the US Open, and you're playing with none other than the bloke that you were talking about before. Didn't have the Sunday that you were obviously after. What are your recollections from that day and that week at Oakmont?
Yeah, that was very similar to my first Australian Open, where I went there early, spent practice rounds to get ready for the golf course, felt comfortable, doubled my first hole that week, and then was 2 over through 54 holes with a 2-shot lead, playing with Tiger. And then I felt ready to go going into Sunday. Unfortunately, just the putter didn't work too well. I messed up the first hole. I mean, I was like a 3-putted for a triple, but like I wasn't far off. And then the next hole, like I had birdie opportunities the next like 5 holes, and I didn't make any of them. And like even if I give myself the triple on the first, and then like I 3-putted a par 5 for par, and then missed a couple other like 12-footers for birdies. If I make any of those, I'm back tied for the lead, and momentum's back on my side, and can be different. But as you know, golf, it's just a game of inches, and momentum's a huge deal in professional golf, and just that's what I didn't get back on my side that day, and definitely learned a bunch that Sunday, and I look forward to hopefully that opportunity again.
Yeah, hopefully it's very, very near in the future. I just want to bring you back to that just for a moment, because not many people have experienced that level of pressure, and certainly, as you mentioned, that Tiger effect, or Tiger Woods is really the only person that in this generation you would look back on and sort of go, wow, I had the opportunity to, play in a final group with him. What was that atmosphere like? Was it suffocating in a way? I know it's like you were out there to do your job, and you had every right to win that more so than Tiger, even. You were leading the event. But I just wonder if you could take us inside the ropes there, like walking to that first tee, or the atmosphere, that incredible electricity that you must feel inside the ropes walking around on a final round with Tiger Woods must have been something else.
Yeah, so the putting green's pretty close to the first tee there at Oakmont. It's probably like a little, I don't know, 15, 20-yard walk. In between the putting green and the first tee, there was just like a sea of people. And I'm pretty good at waiting to the last minute to get to the tee. Sometimes my caddy doesn't like that. So, but Tiger kept hanging out by the putting green, and I felt like he was waiting for me. And he was like, so as I sort of walked in between the sea of people, he walked in like right behind me, and like everyone's like yelling. So like I knew, like my wife and I, Rochelle, we talked about like he's gonna have some sort of, not tricks up his sleeve, but he's gonna try and do something to change the vibe, or try and put pressure on you. And that was one of the things. So I was sort of ready for it, So literally he was like 3 steps behind me, like, and the crowd was just going nuts. So I remember that was pretty crazy.
Unbelievable.
He was sort of by the edge of the green. I think he was almost just like waiting, like, all right, come on, let's go to the tee. I want to walk behind you. Like, that's sort of what it felt like.
And so you were saying that you prepared for something similar to that, some sort of mind game. Was that common for Tiger Woods?
No. I feel like he would use his um he'd use the crowd, or he'd
Presence.
use like just who he was to try to his advantage, how good he was. But he was great to play with. For as great as he was and as competitive that he was always complimentary. Like when you hit a good shot, it was always a good shot, good putt, good birdie. Like he was never one just to like snub you or anything like that. Like that was one thing that always stood out when I played with Tiger, was that just how complimentary he was.
When you look back on those moments, like say that 2007 US Open or 2008 PGA when you're in contention there, or 2009 Masters, you're in contention there. Do you dwell on the sliding doors for the moments that might have been? How do you manage those now?
I think now it's a little more like reminiscing, like that Oakmont on Sunday. I definitely think back to be like, man, if I could just have made a couple of those putts and just switch the momentum, I would have been pretty keen to see how it would have changed. For the most part, like you just sort of look back and be like, okay, what did I learn? But now, and then also just reminiscing.
And you're still playing at the highest level, obviously. So those looking back is, as you mentioned, what did I learn? What could I be better at? How can I get better for tomorrow every single day, obviously? What motivates you now? Like what keeps you going on the US tour currently?
Trying to get more trophies.
I love it.
I'm 45 now, so sort of getting towards obviously the back end of the career on the PGA Tour. Definitely want to make one more push there. I think it'd be a different special because my kids, they all understand it now. I mean, and plus they love their golf, my boys. So to make another push, and if I can get another one or two wins, 3 wins or whatever it is, like that would be pretty special because it'd be great for them. I'd love them to experience it. Like I was just
Yeah.
talking with one of my boys the other day, and he was one when I won my last one.
Yeah.
And he only just started walking like a couple of days before, and he's like, I don't remember anything.
Oh, it's a different motivating factor, isn't it? And I that's why I keep coming back to, like, Sam and I are young fathers now. I've got two little girls, and your whole world changes obviously when that happens. Now, back in 2011, you'd had 4 wins on the US Tour. You get selected for a President's Cup team. Talk to us about that, playing a President's Cup at Royal Melbourne in your hometown. What's it like in the locker rooms, in that team environment, being a President's Cup year this year?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty special. I mean, because golf's such a, as you mentioned before, selfish sport. Like very individual. It's just about you. How can you get better? And then you go to the team event, and it's about the team. Like, okay, and you have uh, guys to lean on or guys to cheer for. And I feel like one of my favorite parts of the whole week was cheering for the other guys.
Mm.
Like I remember when Jeff Ogilvy had about a 3 or 4 footer on 18 to win his match, and I mean, I was so nervous and like cheered so loud when he made that thing. Like that was one of my favorite things of the whole week. Just like
How good.
that, because it's just you don't get that as a professional golfer.
Mm. And Phil Mickelson obviously won a major at 53, mate. So you've got plenty of golf ahead of you. Don't worry about that. We're all
Sure.
pulling for you for sure. Back to that team environment. You grew up playing a lot of team sports. You're a big cricket man.
Yeah.
How do the international team? How do you pull together, or what do you kind of? Everyone's from different countries, right? A lot of different languages, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different cultures. How does the international team, do you feel, pull themselves together and galvanize for a week? Even more so maybe now. What did you learn during that week that you would bring into a next international President's Cup team if you were selected?
Yeah, I think like one of the things that Greg did well was just getting us all together like at dinners and just spending time together. Because like you do come from different times. Like some guys are coming from the Japan tour, and some of us are coming from obviously the US, and then some are coming from the DP World Tour. And so just having the time together and practicing together and just trying to get as much time together as everybody. But I feel like nowadays it's such a world game that we know each other more, you know?
Mm.
So I feel like with Jack being the captain this year, I mean, I feel like the more he can do that, And then also just because we know each other, I feel like the camaraderie would be, I'll probably say maybe a little bit easier, just because we all know each other.
Yeah.
Golf at the moment, Aaron, I mean, we haven't been through as tumultuous a period in, I don't think, any of our lifetimes. And where the golf landscape sits at the moment, there's been upheaval, there's been change, and then there's change on the horizon as well that's been laid out to a certain point by the PGA Tour. Even today, the announcement that the Asian Tour is now in a partnership with the DP and the PGA. So the landscape is shifting. What have you made of the last sort of 5 years, and where do you see it now, and where do you see the future of golf? How have you taken it all in, participated, and then what do you hope for in the future of it all? I know it's a broad question, but it's been a big sort of 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy, to be honest. Like, Liv really like shook things up, and I think if Liv ends up going away, I feel like that's, in my opinion, probably a good thing, because you get all the best players playing together again, week in, week out. I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of what the tour is doing. I definitely understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, but I feel like that the tour was in a pretty great spot prior to Liv, and guys were playing their tournaments, and you're getting good TV. I feel like if you look at Rory McIlroy's schedule this year, I feel like that you can see how money's not a driving factor for these top guys. And for them, it's about winning the big events, winning the majors. And then, like, with the changes, like what Rory mentioned the other day was that, like, hey, as long as I finish in the top 30 in the FedEx, then I'm good. I can win the FedEx Cup. And the question I asked the tour a few years ago, that would have been last year, actually. The way they had it structured, and I feel like it's almost that way again, is that you're encouraging the best players to not play more, but to play less. Ideally, like, the way you want to structure everything is you want the best players to feel like they need to play more. So if they don't play as well, then, okay, I'm going to add in a couple of events because I want to get my FedEx ranking to be right at the top, because then I get an advantage going into Eastlake or to where the Tour Championship is going to be. And I feel like that's the biggest key, is that.
A bit of a two-pronged question here is, so from an international perspective, or a young up-and-coming really good player from Australia, it feels like there's now an extra step that they have to get through to get to that championship track, right?
Yeah.
It feels like a harder path to get to from an international perspective. What are your thoughts on that?
100%. I totally agree with you, because now you got the championship or Challenger Series. I think it's the Challenger Series and the Championship Series. And back in the day, like DP World, I don't know if they still do, but they still have a level 1 and level 2 tier tournaments. And some of them, like, if you win, you only get a 1-year exemption, and if you win a level 2 tier, then, or whatever it is, then you get a 2-year exemption. And I was like, I'm so glad that the tour is not like that. And that's what made the FedEx Cup really good originally, was that if you had two purses, one of 8 million and one at 5 million, and you were tossing up which tournament to play, you would choose the $8 million purse because it counted more towards the money list. But the FedEx Cup came in and brought equality to every event, where they were the same. So you win, or if you finish top 10, it's the same amount of points. Doesn't matter the size of the purse. And this has sort of brought it back to now you have two different tours. I'll be interested to see how it plays out. I mean, obviously Brian Rolap, with his experience from the NFL, I mean, the NFL is massive. So, like, he's obviously got a lot of experience with big things like that.
Got to be really careful to make it or make sure it's not a closed off system, right? Like, Aaron
100%.
Baddeley has to be able to play his way up and give himself that opportunity at the end of the season to potentially win the FedEx Cup, and same for the young Aaron Baddeley, who's just won an Australian Open, has to be able to get onto that championship track a little sooner than having to then go through DP and have a great year on DP World and then get onto the Challenger Series and have a great year on the Challenger. You're asking young players to have a lot of great years before they can level up, and it sort of secures the top talent to some degree. Is my read on it. I mean, this is about you. Sorry, not my grievances here.
No, I agree. I mean, I feel like there's definitely more levels, and I don't mind the more levels in the sense of that, like, hey, even if you think of like baseball, or if it, over here, or footy back in Australia, like that's the difference with other sports, because you can be selected to be like, oh, you're in, where golf, you can't do that. You have to earn your stripes, and you got to have that step by step of playing good. If you don't play good, then bad luck, know.
So, Aaron, with the new system and how they now want to help elevate national opens, I'm every year when we talk to the PGA and Golf Australia, we ask, well, how many of the big dogs are coming back? And I would put you in that category of one of our best ever. Does it make it now easier for you to come back, or more enticing for you to be able to come back to play in the Australian summer? Because, as I said, you're one of our best and beloved by fans, and people still talk about, remember what you've done on Australian soil, whether it be the two Australian Opens, the tournaments you've won, beating Tiger Woods on Australian soil with Jason Day in a President's Cup and all those kind of things. Are we more or less likely to see you on Australian soil, and what has made it difficult for you to be able to come back for the Australian summer?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the length of the year makes it difficult. And like, as we talked about earlier with the family and being like, as they've gotten older, being away from them more after a long year, then be away for another couple more weeks always makes it more difficult. Or the scheduling over here overlaps with some of the tournaments back home, where you got to play the last couple of events over here on the tour, and that coincides with the PGA or whatever it is. That's always made it difficult. I think it can definitely, the shorter season over here will make it a lot easier to get back and play more, because you're going to have some time off before the tournaments, and you're going to be able to use the tournaments to prepare for the new season.
So fingers crossed, we see a lot of us. Yeah,
a lot of plane tickets for 6 kids. I mean, I hear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to shell out.
I was more looking at a boat, seeing the cruise line. I thought they'd be cheaper.
Well, Greg's got a boat, doesn't he? Like, can't exactly. Greg sort of set sail from Florida?
Exactly.
Gary Player can tell you a thing or two about some boat trips, mate, in his day. Hey, Aaron, you've statistically been one of the greatest putters across your entire career. I'm curious whether you can give some of our listeners some advice that you said your young boys are playing now. What advice, or what would you have them do to become the same level of putter, or focus any area of the game, but particularly with putting? What would you have your kids do, or how do you practice your putting to keep that area of your game so sharp?
I would say, like, one of the main things is that, like, I was not born a great putter. I feel like that's always the mantra. Like, oh, he was born a great putter. And I'm like, that wasn't me. Like, I told my parents, like, I remember I was like, if I could just putt, I think I'd be all right. And so I think that's one thing that's a testament to, like, you can, if you work hard, you can become great at something. So what I did was that me and Lynchy Senior, we got some fundamentals and some drills that I could just do over and over. So for me, I putt majority with my left hand. So I did a lot of left hand only drills. We had our ball position in a certain spot. And then after that, it was really just like practicing. I mean, as silly as it sounds, it's like you practice making putts. I mean, it sounds crazy. That's obviously putting, but like I would put the tees around the hole. And one thing that Lynchy Senior was so great at was that he's like, okay, you got to practice like you do on the golf course. And that's the one thing I did my whole career, was that I would do my drill exactly like I would on the golf course. So I do my full routine of strokes behind the ball, go through it, hit the putt. So then when I got to tournaments, I was like, I remember the amount of times I told myself on a golf course, and this is just like the drill. Like, thousands of times, because I'd done the drill, done the routine, and everything was just practiced over and over. So it was just automatic.
So if there was one drill that you could do that wasn't a technique drill, so not left-handed, not ball position, one drill that you could do, what would it be?
I'll have two.
Okay. Perfect.
Putter face alignment. You got to have a square putter face, because if you can have a putter face that's square to the line that you want to start the ball on. Your stroke doesn't need to be perfect for the ball to start pretty much on line.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 2 is just literally put tees around the holes. It can be any distance, and just practice making putts with your full routine. If you can do those 2 things, you're going to have a better chance, and put pressure on yourself. Like, hey, I'm going to make 10 out of 10, or I'm going to make 10 out of 12, or whatever the number is, and give yourself some pressure. So those are the 2 things I would do.
We won't keep you for too much longer, Bads. We do a little thing at the end called a quick 9 just to finish up rapid fire. But I was just curious, when it comes time for Hall of Fame acceptance speeches, you're going to have to thank a couple of people that have been the major influences in your career, mentors and the like. Who are the names that spring to mind the moment that I throw that at you?
I mean, honestly, first one's Lynchy. Like,
Ryan or yeah, okay, sorry, yep.
First one's Lynchy because he couldn't have asked for a better coach growing up. And I've said it, so many times that like he really set the way for me to believe in myself, to understand how to get better, and then just to know that things are achievable and it was normal. Like when I qualified for my first Vic Open at 15. I remember I was teeing off last group at like 210, and the first thing he said, "That's perfect. You get a chance to sleep in, you can rest." And he made everything positive, and he made everything where it was you felt like I can do this. So Lynchy for sure, and then obviously I have my wife and the kids. There's the support from Rochelle is just like unprecedented. She's been there every step of the way. And then just my coaches along the way, things I've learned from guys, the different coaches from Andy and Mike with Stackenstill to Ledbetter to Scott Hamilton, all these guys who have really, I've picked up pieces the whole way from all these different guys.
I'm curious, man. You make any swing look good, and you're very malleable, like so athletic, rhythm so good. Of everything that you've learned, do you have an idea of like what works at the moment, or do you have a really clear image of how you want the golf club moving after everything that you've learned?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of keys that like I feel like that are most natural for me. When things aren't going the way that are easy or natural for me, then I move away from that. But like now, after so many years, like you sort of know what my tendencies are, what I need to work on with that, and then things I need to do to make things more simple. Yeah, you definitely get an understanding of what's more natural for you, as opposed to like what looks the best.
Well, mate, I know that you've got a couple of places to be and things to do today, and we're so grateful for the time you've given. It's a bit of a tradition on our podcast. We do a quick 9 just to finish up. It's pretty rapid fire, so it won't take too long. We may ask you to expand on a couple of things, but it's pretty basic stuff because we're not that smart to come up with better questions. Earliest golfing memory and influence?
I would say one of my earliest memories was I can still remember a shot that I hit when I first broke 80. I was at Croydon Golf Club on the 7th hole. I was playing with a member named Bob Hennessy. He was using Callaway S2 H2 golf clubs. And I was in the right rough. The pin was in the front right. I hit a 4-iron. I started on the tree line and drew back to about 6 feet and made that putt for birdie on like one of the hardest holes on the golf course. And I shot 79. So I remember that vividly. And earliest influences, Lynchy Sr.
Sorry, now how old were you when you did break 80? Just quickly.
I think I was like 13. Mm-hmm. It would have been 13, yeah.
I was 44. But thank you for plugging Callaway too, because they sponsor this. They'll be wrapped with that. I won't. Do you know your current handicap? That's more for people that aren't pros, that question.
I think it's like a +6.
Nice. That's handy. Lowest round ever, and how many hole-in-ones?
9 hole-in-ones, and then shot 61 here at a course called Desert Forest, which is traditionally known as the most difficult course in Arizona.
Awesome.
Is there any of those hole-in-ones that are like, can you re-raise a little on that to say, oh, by the way, one of them was on this hole at this course?
I can't think of any, there's no famous holes. It's not like a Shane Lowry who's made a hole-in-one on every famous hole in the planet. But my last one was pretty fun. It was that So it was like just as COVID was starting and the golf courses were open here. So like, and my boys were young at the time. And one of the courses here, Pinnacle Peak Country Club, where we're members at, the par threes were a perfect distance for Jeremiah, my oldest boy, to hit a hybrid on the green. But he always wanted to hit 7-iron. And I said, buddy, let's hit hybrid. He's like, no, I want to hit 7. And he'd come up short. And I would say, he's like, oh, it's short. I said, hey, buddy, maybe you should listen to Dad every once in a while. And he says, hey, he goes, Dad, I'll listen when you make hole in one, okay? Like not arrogant, not like it's like
matter of fact.
As matter of fact. And literally like 10 days later, I was up at Whisper Rock Golf Club on the upper, and I hit this like perfect little 9-iron, and I thought it was just behind the hole. And as I getting closer, because of the pipe that was in the hole, it was just sitting right on top. And so I'm going up, and I was like, wait, I think this is in. So I pull out my phone, and I start videoing. I was like, hey, Jeremiah, this is Dad.
I saw this.
And we go up, and it's in the hole. And so he's been pretty good at listening since then on the golf course.
That's
awesome.
very good. That's very good. What's currently in the bag? What are you using?
I've got Callaway driver, the new Quantum in the bag.
Hey.
That'll
be the promo. That'll be the promo. Thanks, mate.
Yep. I got another old school Callaway 5-wood, actually, the Epic. So a little
Nice.
old school there. And then another, the TaylorMade Stealth. I think it's a Stealth 1 or 2. I can't remember. 3-wood. And then got some old Ping irons, the Ping eye blades. And then, but I'm testing the new Tour cavity backs, Callaways. And then I use Callaway wedges, the old Jaws wedges.
You've been using them.
And
for
then
a
I got
long
my
time.
old faithful Scotty Cameron in the bag right now, the one I won my first Aussie Open with.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's been like my staple over the years. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty rusty.
What's your favourite course that you've played?
I have multiples, to be honest. I feel like it's hard to have a single favorite course because like you play like Royal Melbourne and you play Kingston Heath, which are super special and unique to Australia with the sand belt, right? Then you come over here and you play Pebble Beach and Augusta. I mean, there's two amazing golf courses. Like Pebble Beach, I feel like it's one of those courses, like the views are great, obviously, but the more you play it, the better it gets. Just the subtleties of the design and stuff, especially when you play during a US Open. Augusta being super special. But then you go over to the UK and playing like Royal County Down, and even this past week at Royal Birkdale, like that was one of my favorite courses there over there too. So I can't say I can have a single course that's my favorite. I got multiple.
If you had to reach into the bag to pull out a club to play a shot to save your life. Now, I don't know when this situation is ever going to arise, but just try and put yourself in it. What club are you reaching in for?
Lob wedge.
Lob wedge.
Yeah.
Why's that?
I just feel like I can sort of do anything with it. Like my boys will be like, Dad, why don't you practice your short game very much? Yet you still chip so good. I'm like, well, because I spent thousands of hours practicing that the last 25, 30 years, So I feel very comfortable with the lob wedge. And like I said, any sort of different situation I can get myself out of.
All right, now I'm going to change one up on the run here because the next question is favourite golfer, but I'm going to change that to say pick 3 people that if you looked at your tee time when it came out for a tournament, you'd go, oh, yes, I'm playing with them. Like, who are you most happy to see getting put into your group for a tee time?
I'd say Bubba Watson was one of the guys. He was like one of my best mates when he was on tour, and when Teddy was working for him, Teddy's one of my best mates too. So we always had a lot of fun together, playing out there. Tiger was one guy who I always wanted to play with because obviously being the best, you want to play with the best. And as I mentioned earlier, like he was so good to play with. And then the last one, I don't know. That's I don't know. That's a
That'll
tough
do.
one. I feel like I got some good, but I mean, there's so many good. I think one of the great things with golf, it breeds good people because like as a youngster, you're playing with 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old, 70-year-old men, and you have to behave yourself.
That's true.
So, I mean, honestly, there's lots of other guys. Phil was great to me when I first came over here, and Greg was amazing to me when I was a youngster.
Yeah, that skill that golf teaches you to find commonality with anyone that you're playing with, whether they be younger, older, or anything, is a cherished skill that this game provides, mate. Final one, and we'll let you get out of here. They're the pros that you look forward to playing with. If you could choose a 4-ball right now of anyone on the planet, and you've just got a group to go out and have a Sunday afternoon hit with, who would it be?
It'd be my boys.
Yeah,
my boys. Yeah, they love the game. I love going out and playing with them, and then if my dad's over here from Australia, he can join in too.
Love it.
So, but no, my boys. Yeah,
that's the perspective we love to hear, mate. Best of luck. Obviously, as we keep going. Sorry, Sammy.
You're going to try and let him off the hook. You're going to let him off the hook here. The other last question, Badds, is that we have a thing called the Course Language Confessional. And this is for your funniest, your most embarrassing, the most amazing thing that you've ever seen on a golf course. It can be any one of those, but we'd like you to regale us with it. Just whatever comes to the top of your head, whether it be funny, embarrassing, brilliant, you wouldn't believe it if we didn't see it sort of thing.
I'd say a funny sort of embarrassing one was I think I was a group in front of Tiger at Doral at the World Golf Championship, and I go to the bathroom on like the 12th hole, and my fly breaks. So I'm playing Sunday, and my zipper is just busted. And there's nothing I can do. People are yelling out from the crowd, "Hey, your zipper's down!" I'm like, I know that.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm like trying to walk sideways. I don't know what I'm trying to do. Like just trying to, yeah.
That
is brilliant.
So, that was pretty funny.
Oh,
yeah.
mate, by the way, we get so many of these that are toilet related, you wouldn't believe it, but that is very, very good.
Yeah.
Just the story you had about Tiger breathing down your neck walking to the first at Oakmont was pretty good too, but that actually tops it.
That's even better.
Badds, as I said off the top, you are one of Australia's greats, and it still gets spoken about what you've done on here, but also, 4 PGA Tour wins is just incredible what you've been able to do over such a long period of time. We always enjoy seeing your name up on leaderboards whenever we get to see them. You are such a wonderful human and ambassador for golf. We are so grateful that you could spend some time with us. Thank you very much for being on Course Language.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Enjoyed the chat.
Thanks, mate, and best of luck in all the events coming up as well. We'll be keeping a keen eye. Obviously, your best golf could still be ahead of you as well, so good luck with everything, and congrats to your beautiful family.
Yeah, cheers, mate, and go Geelong.
Good on you, Badds.
Calm the cats.